All right, and welcome to the next video where we basically talk about and, of course, reveal the internet mind that knows it all. As you probably guessed by now, that would be Google. And how does Google really relate to Facebook and Facebook targeting? Well, what I wanted to give you is a way to explore and expand the way that you do research about a niche that you may not know much about. If this is something that you're exploring for the first time, and simply are clueless about any particular deep keywords that are used by people who are very familiar with this niche, then Google is definitely a good way to look up this information because you can also see what people are searching and see if this is something that you can use inside the Facebook audience. Sometimes the websites or organizations or forums or anything of that nature are so big and popular that you'll also find them on Facebook interests. So let's look into what that really looks like. So for example, pit bulls, right? So we would write something like pit bull and then just space and see and and write letter A, right? And then pit bull attacks. Now again, you have to keep in mind, actually let's do pit bulls and space. And look, remember Pit Bulls and Paralese? If I didn't know about that show, for example, then one of the perfect ways that I would find it is write Pit Bulls, then space, and even before we get anywhere, Google shows us the most relevant and popular searches inside its search box. But by simply saying that Pit Bulls and Paralese is one of the top ones and seems to be number 4 as well. So immediately, if we didn't know about Pit Bulls and Paralese, we would come back to interests on Facebook and write, pit bulls and Paralese and find this interest immediately. And it happens to be a pretty good one, as we saw using the Facebook audience insights. Now, let's keep going and maybe instead of an A, try to write letter B and see what we come up with. Now, again, remember, we're trying to stay away from things like band and stuff like that because that's a different cause. We are looking for people who are into this breed, raising it, and training it and all that stuff. So something that I like is barking and breed. So let's start with breed and see what that gives us. And then we could see that, let's see, American Pit Bull Terrier. That's a little bit general because it says dogtime.com and then it has a subsection dog breeds and then it has a subsection American Pit Bull. So that's a little too broad because remember, we really are only able to put in the root domain sometimes. So for example, if we go to Facebook and write dog time, there you go. See, it's there, meaning people are interested in this particular domain. We would have never come across this thing unless we would have done research with the internet mind that knows it all. And it's a pretty cool keyword because it's a very small, very niche group of people. However, in our case, it's too broad because dog time covers a lot of breeds. So if we kind of keep scrolling, we see Caesar. And Caesar has a lot of connections, or Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer. He has a lot of connections with pit bulls, actually. There's a bunch of stories and all of that stuff. So if you happen to know that, you'll obviously try this domain. If you don't, you can always click on the website and see what this is all about. You immediately see, that basically he has a whole article, of course, about how pit bulls got a bad rap and blah, blah, blah. And we can immediately go and see if this is something that we can look up. Caesar's Way, or maybe without the apostrophe because Facebook, there you go. Caesar's Way, 9,000+ people. Now, Caesar Milan himself has 10 million plus people. That's something that you don't want to go because it's too broad. But Caesar's Way may be a very good keyword for you to try. But again, a little too broad because he obviously covers a lot of different dogs and a lot of different breeds, and he's not specific to pit bulls. He actually has pit bulls and he has adopted them. That could be something that's useful for you, and that you might use CaesarsWay.com, or as it's shown on Facebook, Caesar's Way, Caesar's Way, and there we go. Without the .com. So, but again, these are just a few examples how you can use Google which has nothing to do with Facebook. But because Google is essentially a research library, if you will, you're able to look up all kinds of information to look up the interests that you would never be able to come up with because you just don't know enough about this niche. So you do the research, you add these very, very, Pitbull 411. I wonder if that is in there. Let's see. Pitbull 411 or Pitbull 411 or Pitbulls. Or what if we have no spaces? You got to keep playing around with this because sometimes these basically websites, if you will, come up with the .com. Sometimes they come up by themselves without. So you got to see all kinds of combinations in order to see if it's in Facebook, if it's big enough in Facebook. Again, you do the research enough, you'll be able to find the keywords that other people don't even know about. They would never come up across them, would never find them unless they did this research. So the internet mind that knows it all can certainly help you get started and certainly allow you to put in the keywords that nobody else may know about. Now, remember, we actually started this research, if you remember, in the Audience Insights using Pitbulls and Paralease. If I didn't know about this show just by hearing about it here and there, I wouldn't be able to find it unless I come to Google and illustrate to you, what we saw by just putting space and seeing this thing. And it was this specific phrase, Pitbulls and Paralease, that really gave birth to essentially the demographics that we started to use and all other suggestions that Facebook gave us. So it's a very, very helpful tool to go out to Google and maybe try like Pitbull organizations, right? Actually, Pitbull's organizations. And okay, so Pitbull's org. I wonder if that's available. Pitbull's org, or maybe Oh, there it is. Pitbull's org. We already chose it. That's why. So there you go. Look, without knowing, even remembering that we've already added because it came up in the suggestions tool, this is something that also came up in Google. So like you see, Google is very, very helpful. If you did not know anything about Pitbulls, Pitbull research on Google would have helped you a long way. It certainly would have gotten you started. And this applies to essentially every niche, every product, everything out there, because like I said, the internet mind that knows it all literally does know it all. It's a great tool to use, and I just wanted to share this with you so you can add it to your tool arsenal. And if you're stuck or anything of that nature, or don't even know where to begin, it's a great way to do that. All right, so with that, I'll end this video and I'll see you in the next one.